In this tutorial, I'd like to show you how to implement the brand new Moodle security feature of password salting on your Moodle site. If you have a Moodle site that's older than a couple days, you're not going to have this feature installed more than likely. So what I'd like to do here is walk you through the process for adding the code to your Moodle site in order to make your passwords stored in the user database table a lot more secure. If you look at Moodle, there is a new doc in Moodle Docs that talks a little bit about password salting. It was just started a few days ago. If you look at the history here, it started on 17 November, so there's not a lot of meat in here yet, but there are a couple things in here that can help you out to enable this on your site. If we scroll down, the two things that you'll want to get from here is one, the variable that you would include in your Moodle config file, and that's this information here. Or two is just go to the salt generator that they're providing you on the site here in order to get the variable and a random string to serve as the salt for your password. So if you were to click on this link, it will take you to the Moodle salt generator, and that will give you the variable that goes in your config file as well as generate a random string for you. Notice if I hit refresh here, the string of characters just continues to change randomly. If you're a little hesitant about going to a website to get something that has to do with security to go on your site, I can understand that. But it's okay to come here and get this. This is really just a replica of what WordPress has been doing for ages now. If you were to, for example, look, you'll see that the WordPress config file for a long time has talked about putting salts in the config file, and it provides you with an address here to generate those keys. So if we were to go there to the WordPress address, hit enter, we get essentially the same thing. Notice I hit refresh and it generates those random keys. I've been using this for a long time. It works great. So Moodle has essentially just copied what WordPress has been doing, and they're generating random keys on the site. So no problem with using these. Now the one thing you may be confused about here is just generating 11 different keys. I'm not sure why that is. You only need one. So don't come here and grab all 11 of these and put in your config file. So what I'd suggest you do is to gather your material is to just come to this Moodle salt generator. I normally hit refresh 3 or 4 times and then come down here and grab any one of these random keys. Grab the whole line I've just highlighted and copied. And then what we'll do is we'll take that back to our config file in Moodle and paste it in. So you simply go to your Moodle site, find your config file, and open it in a text editor. Now your config file may look different from this. This is a config file that was generated through an auto install of Moodle. So if you have a config file like this, you can paste this anywhere. I would simply come down maybe below line 18 here or so, and then just paste that line in for the password salts. Save, and then that will add a salt to the passwords that are generated in Moodle. And essentially all it does is if your password happens to be Moodle, then it adds this random string with Moodle when it generates the MD5 hash, and then that makes the weak password of Moodle a lot stronger and virtually uncrackable through any of the web MD5 crackers, as long as a person doesn't know this salt, of course. So you can't give this salt away to anyone. Don't make it public. Adding this in the config file is good, because that way if someone downloads the user table from the database and gets all those MD5 hash passwords, then they can't go and unhash them through one of the online unhashing sites without this information. So unless they download your entire file structure, or at least your config file and the database both, then they're not going to be able to break your hashes. And it's not likely they're going to be able to download both. If they can, then you have more security problems than just the ability to download the user table from Moodle. Again, I said that your config file may not look like that. It just depends on how yours was created. If you manually installed Moodle and you use the config distribution file, then you may have a lot more lines in there. But let me show you something here before I close this video. If you were to look, for example, at a Moodle install that was downloaded earlier than just a few days ago, and then if you download one today, for example, that config distribution PHP file is going to look a bit different. If you notice here, here's a config file from a Moodle install that I downloaded on the on the 10th of October this year. And then here's one that I downloaded today, 17 November. If you notice here, there's two major changes in this config file. Let's look at what those are. If you look here, it talks about the user password salt as a very important security feature. And it certainly is. It's just never been there before 2 or 3 days ago. It talks about it being created automatically in the installer. And you have to uncomment and modify the value of the next line in the config. The only problem is this line has never been in config before until 2 or 3 days ago. And then it talks a little bit about old values of salts, which is also in that new Moodle doc. So if you're downloading a new copy of Moodle and you see this in the config and you've never seen it before and you're wondering how you missed it, well, you didn't miss it. It just hasn't never been there. And if we scroll on down, then we see here where it talks about allow user passwords to be included in backup files. A very dangerous setting as far as it pushes password hashes that can be unencrypted if the backup file is publicly available. So here it's giving you a warning about allowing your users to take those backups. And there's another brand new variable in here that I'm assuming in the interface now when you install Moodle is going to give the admin the option. That's never been there before either. That's brand new. So when you see these things, don't think you were asleep at the wheel and didn't do something you were supposed to do. It's there now, and you certainly need to do it now. But it's only been there for the past 2 or 3 days, so keep that in mind. So anyway, if you have an existing Moodle site, I would highly recommend that you add those password salts. It's pretty easy to do. And if you install a brand new Moodle install as of just a couple days ago, then I'm assuming you'll be prompted to do that during the install process.